Hugh Marquis, a highly successful serial entrepreneur, executive leader, consultant, speaker, inventor, author, and social change philanthropist. Hugh and his beautiful wife, Jane, have built, transformed, and sold companies in many industries including hospitality, human resources, telecommunications, forestry, and information technology. They founded StopSart, a foundation to fight human trafficking and end modern-day slavery. Hugh is the visionary founder of education IT service provider network Neighbourhood, which grew to a large 8-figure business employing over 250 people. He travels globally, advising governments, businesses, churches, and other leaders. Here is Hugh Marquis.
Hugh, as a highly successful serial entrepreneur, how do you define success and what does that look like practically to you?
Growing up, I looked for success in all the wrong places. I thought success was the car I drove, the house I lived in, the holidays I could do. And I went looking for success, trying to build that out because of, look at me, look at what I've got, look. And, in reality, it was part of who I'd become. But success for me now, the true measure of success is how high I can lift someone else up. What I can do to make somebody else be better. That I can put them on my shoulders and give them a head start. That's how I define success now. Like, what can I do for other people?
So good. I love your book, Hugh. I read it twice. In your book, you mentioned that one of the most disruptive technologies is unconditional love. What does it look like to love unconditionally in the business world that often demands us to be cutthroat in order to succeed?
So what you would have found through the book, as I've talked through things in the book, is that life is all about relationships. Life is all about relationships, and everything we do should be about relationships. So the thing of unconditional love is that in business, in life, you're going to get hurt. Things aren't always going to go the way you want to go. And we can take a stance of going, I'm going to get them, I'm going to fix them up, and they're going to pay for the mistakes that they've made me do, or we can show grace to them. We can show love to them and say, hey, I believe you've actually got my best interest at heart. You meant this transaction to be good and positive, and I believe that people have the best in it. Now, I've had the privilege of traveling to 108 nations and doing business in a lot of nations and doing a bunch of things there. But what I've found that every single person that I've met right around the world, every person I've met, is that they all have a good brain, they have a big heart, and they're all good at least one thing. So unconditional love to me is looking for what that one thing is. What is the thing that they're good at? What can we celebrate them for? What can we say, look, even though you may hurt me, I'm going to show you love. And it's not love, in a crazy, icky way. It's a love of, I value you as a person and I'm going to honour you as a person. We all know in business deals, things sometimes don't work the way they should. I've had dealings like that. There are days that people have crossed me, and seriously, my first reaction was, I want to give them a bit of fivefold ministry. But I have to go back to that place of saying, no. Am I that perfect that I shouldn't be able to judge? No, I'm not. I've made plenty of mistakes. So you've read my book twice. You know there's a lot of mistakes in that book. So we've got to show people a love that's better.
Hugh, what are your key learnings and challenges in turning a failing business into a thriving enterprise?
Well, when in our business network Neighbourhood, it was going really well, and I made not a mistake, a miscalculation is a word I would use on it. When I bought my business partner out, I used all the cash that we had in the business. I used everything that we had, and then I realised we still had to operate a business, and so that was hard. And really, we tightened the belt. We cut unnecessary expenditure. We looked at where our profit was, and we drew our business to what we were meant to be doing. We kept very focused on what we believed our mandate was, and we kept driving and drawing towards that. So in turning that, it wasn't though it was failing, we became very, very focused And over the next period of time, we doubled each year for the next 6 years.
What is your hiring process to create the best team?
So I start with the team first. In all of our companies, we build culture, and culture is key. So we have a culture that value and honour each other and build into that. So then when we're recruiting staff, we recruit staff based on culture, because I can teach them technical skills, I can teach them accounting skills, we can teach them those things, but if they're not a cultural fit, it's always going to be hard work. So we build off culture, and when we start a new team member, they're introduced to the culture from day one. And funny, one of the things that we did, I talk about another book called The Big Five for Life. So in recruiting people, I would actually give them the book on their first interview and say, your second interview is in 2 weeks. And the part of the test was, did they read the book? And if they didn't read the book, they failed the first test. People go, you can't recruit like that. And I go, well, I can, because I want to build culture. Now, in our company, over 15 years, when we sold the company, we had 250 staff, but we only lost 7 people in 15 years from the company. So either I was paying them way too much money, which might have been the case, or we built a culture where they felt valued and honoured and they looked after each other. So our team also invited their friends to come and work in our company. So they were doing the recruiting for us.
What is the greatest lesson you could give to someone who is starting a business they can't learn in business school?
I'm a Christian, so I'm going to take this from a Christian perspective on that question. The first thing that I would ask people was, did God say to do it? Because I've had a lot of people that come to me for business advice, both Christians and non-Christians, and it's okay because God's rules work for those who believe and those that don't. So it's fine either way. And they say, well, our business is really struggling. But if there isn't, some people aren't meant to be in business, some people are meant to be in business. And so the question is, first of all, are the foundations set properly? Are you building from a solid foundation? Now, we all know that businesses, over 50% of businesses fail in the first 3 to 5 years. I don't think they need to. They need to set their business tenets right so that happens. And, you've got to have a product or a service that people want. Like if I was going out and trying to sell widgets, who buys them? But so it's about building that into people from day one.
What is the best financial investment you have ever made and why?
Best financial investment was investing into myself. I've done a lot of training. I've done a lot of courses to try and make me a better person and a better leader. I've done a lot of leadership training. I actually teach leadership now in various ways and things to do that. But the best investment you can make is investing in yourself. I was once at a seminar, and it was a plumbers conference, and one of the plumbers spoke up and asked a question of the guy that was speaking. He said, what if we invest all this money training our staff and making our staff better, and they just go and leave? And the guy who was speaking said, what if you don't train them and they stay? Which I think is, when building into your team, building into personal development. I read a lot of books. That's the best investment. It's returned multiple times, and again.
Hugh, we end each podcast with 2 questions. The first question out of the 2, if you could live your life over again, what is one thing that you would do differently?
I'd listen to my wife earlier. And the reason I say that is because what I've found is women have an intuition that's different than men. They hear things, they have a perception on things. And I'm a fairly strong personality. I would go after things, and my wife would go, do you think that's a good idea? Yes, sure it is. And normally, if I've done that has cost me money. But if I listen to her voice of saying the wisdom and reason, so the thing I would do quicker is learn to involve my wife more in everyday decisions around the business so that I wasn't stressing her out, but also ask her advice and then act on it.
And our final question of today, what is one key message that you could give us today that our listeners could apply practically in their lives this week?
Okay, it's my key and my cornerstone message. If you learn to complete people rather than compete people, you will change every environment you're in. What do I mean by that? Well, complete people. Look for what's good in people. Look for what's honouring in people. Look for what's really good about what they do and work on that. Stop focusing on that. We live in an economy that's huge. There is enough business to go around for everybody. We don't need to bring other people down to make money. We should celebrate other people's wins and other people's victories. So learn to complete, not compete. Again, listen to my wife. When I was writing that in my book, Jane said, you know, there's only one letter difference between complete and compete, and that's the letter L. And if you love, you're going to complete others. And if you don't, you're always going to compete with them.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Hey guys, we are giving away 3 copies of this book. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and comment below for a chance to get one for free.